Finding accommodation in Exeter can be war. Even social housing, there's a crisis regarding that. I've learned recently also that there's been an increase in number of homeless people on the streets, and finding accommodation for even working professionals can be work in itself. In this video, I'll be sharing with you my top tips for finding accommodation in Exeter. As someone who has struggled with this in the past and finally saw the light, I'm here to make sure that you don't have to go through that, especially with the new laws or the new plan by the Labour Party about like renters and renting. Landlords would tend to be, you know, more stiff about renting out to certain people, etc. I think it will come in indirect forms because now there's more laws to protect people against discrimination and things like that, more like people that are on social welfare and things like that. However, I'll talk more about that in today's video. Without further ado, let's get into this video where I tell you 5 tips on finding accommodation easily while living in Exeter. If you're new to my channel, by the way, my name is Bola Abioye and I am a Nigerian girl living in Exeter. I do videos on living in Exeter. I have an entire playlist about Exeter living and I will link it up there. And also I talk about travel, skincare and lifestyle, which you would see in my channel. Without further ado, let's get right into today's video. Right, so my first tip for finding accommodation easily in Exeter is if you're using spareroom.com, we know that it's competitive, right? Like landlords are going to be like really picky. They tend to go more for people with like stable jobs, or if you're a student and you're using spareroom.com, you may need a guarantor. If you're not paying loads up front, you may need a guarantor, or landlords may specifically be looking for people that work with like maybe social sector, NHS, civil service, things like that, because they feel like those kind of people have job security and are more likely to pay. So you're going, think about it. If you're using spareroom.com, even if you're looking for a flat and you're not using spareroom.com, you would struggle a little bit because you're in competition against these people, and already houses in Exeter or housing opportunities in Exeter are limited, so you're going up against these people and you're trying to get accommodation. It could be like very difficult. So my tip would be, if you're using spareroom.com, immediately you find something you like, make sure you don't waste any time, book a viewing immediately, fight to the nail to get there as soon as you can, and secure it immediately you found something you like. It can be hard if you're using spareroom.com in particular because you're looking for shared accommodation in that case, and then things like how clean the house is, who the housemates are. So if you want roommates of other genders, or you don't want roommates of other genders, if you want ensuite, things like that, that could be like very, very tricky. And I can understand that makes it even more difficult if you're using spareroom.com. So in that case, if you found something you like and you are a picky person, just go for it immediately, or before you know it would be gone. Okay, so that's definitely my number 1 tip. The other thing is, like, if you're still on spareroom.com, if you mess around loads with like landlords, if you try to act like, oh, you're not sure, blah blah blah, they just view you as unserious and they may not even reply to your text anymore. Whereas if you're like, oh, I'm not paying the money, they should probably be responding to me. But no, like, competition is mad anyway, so they don't have to pay attention to you if they determine that based on how you've acted you're not serious. So that's definitely my number 1 tip, wrapping up things on spareroom.com. Now, if you're looking for a flat or a house, use Rightmove. Don't use Zoopla. Use Rightmove. And by the way, speaking of house and flats, I have a little secret website that personally found me my own apartment in Exeter. I would link my apartment video up there so you can check that out to see just how nice the apartment was, Exeter, and that's where I found that apartment. So if you just stay till the end, I will be giving out that secret link that helped me find that apartment in particular, which is big, spacious. I didn't have to pay ridiculous agent fees as well because my landlord's mortgage was sort of like paid off. He didn't want any struggle, so he wasn't even on like any of the popular sites trying to look for a tenant. Right, so use rightmove.com. That is the more generic one where you'll find the most latest flats and houses available. Zoopla is kind of slow. They kind of like catch up. Sometimes you think, oh, this space is available, but by the time you text them, it's actually gone. So definitely make sure you use rightmove.com and not Zoopla or any of the others, just Rightmove. Okay, that would really help you because already it's competitive, and immediately you go on, you want to check, immediately view, and pay. And if the site you're using is outdated or is not updated regularly, then you could struggle because like other people using the correct sites will be right ahead of you. My third tip would be, if you're looking for a flat or a house, this also applies to shared accommodation actually. If you're looking for a flat or a house particularly, have your money ready. When I talk about your money, I'm talking about your security deposit. So you need your security deposit to say, okay, I'm serious about this. It could be, I think it's typically about 1/5 of what the rent would be. It's always different for certain people, but I think the rule is 1/5 or 1/4. Leave a comment in the comment section if you know any more about this. Well, actually, yeah, it's around that. So you need to have that money ready because like there are other people, again, it's competitive. There are other people looking to beat you to it. There's no messing around. Some people view and pay the security deposit the same day. Some people. Okay, so if I was you, I wouldn't mess around with that. Just do it, get it done, especially if it's something you really like. Or I promise it would be gone. I've had friends have to move away from Exeter because this was the case and they couldn't end up like in kind of accommodation they wanted, or they couldn't even find anything because before they could act, or maybe because they were working they couldn't go view, or they were working they couldn't like confirm payment or pay security deposit immediately. The flat was gone or the house was gone. So definitely keep that in mind, especially in times like September and January when they're new students, and I suppose sometimes in April when they're new students, and the housing market is just going even more crazy than what's normal. My next tip is actually one that I had briefly talked about at the start of this video. So landlords are being very, very careful with who they are sort of taken, because like the new laws, I know these laws or the sort of bills that the Labour Party wants to pass, they need to go through House of Lords, House of Commons, but at the moment the proposal is that there are very strict rules around. You can't really evict people as usual. Renters are having more rights than owners, like than their landlords, and so landlords are going to be like super careful about who they are taking in as a tenant. So you have to be careful. You need to present yourself in a way that they won't see you as this kind of person that they're going to get into trouble with later. So there's much need to be very aware of that from your first conversation with your landlord. How you present kind of what you do, because I know that's a big deal to many landlords. For instance, a good example of that is many landlords are more comfortable renting out their property to people that work with the NHS or the council or other parastatals that pay quite stable income and where people have more job security. So if you keep that in mind, that would really guide you as to how people think, as to what the mentality of typical landlord is, and why it is that you need to be very serious about presenting yourself in a way that they won't see you as a troublemaker. Because one of the new rules is like once you've housed someone, almost like you can't kick them out for the first year or something like that. So you need to be basically present yourself in a way that so since landlords, if you think about it, if landlords can't kick you out in the first year and they have to stick with you for a year, and the other thing is maybe they have to, and the other rules are also around like eviction and what sections you can serve, what you can't serve, how much notice you have to give. I think it's going to take about 4 months before you can actually even kick someone out if you're not paying well enough. If you think about it that way, if you're a landlord, then you start thinking, okay, the onus is on me now to start like vetting people before I bring them into my property, because like I could really be stuck with them for a long time if you're troublemakers. So how you present yourself will be even more important than before. Even though these bills have not been passed or laws have not been passed, I'm sure landlords are really like, okay, if this is going to be passed, how is it going to affect me? I don't want to be in any sort of trouble. So like people will just think ahead and be more careful, right? Which can be very understandable. And now we've come to the last one, where I talk about my secret site for finding accommodation in Exeter, where I found my apartment that I linked earlier on. And that site is Gumtree. Okay, in the most unexpected way, when I was really struggling to find an apartment in Exeter, I found this really nice, like reasonably priced apartment on St. David's back in the day. It was really cool actually. It was big, it was spacious, it was nice, and it was like facing the city. I didn't feel isolated as a young girl that just moved to Exeter. It was quite good. So yeah, I found that on Gumtree. My agent was nice, my landlord was nice. I think like that is definitely a secret good site to find apartments. Okay, so that is pretty much it, guys. We've come to the end of today's videos, and those are my top 5 tips for finding accommodation easily if you're newly living in Exeter. if you have any suggestions, any questions, anything that you feel I may have left out, definitely leave a comment in the comment section, and I will see you in my next video on my apartment tour in Exeter.